Hi, this is Michael Anthony Peroutka, Anne Arundel County Councilman for District 5, analyzing resolution number 2715. And the public hearing and vote on this resolution was scheduled for July 20th, 2015. This is a resolution approving the county's application to the U.S. Department of Justice for a grant for $170,000 and recognizing the authority of the county executive to act in connection with that grant. So let's go to the questions and answers. Question 1 is designed to determine if the bill violates the U.S. Constitution. In my view, there is a significant constitutional issue here. You see, Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution does not grant any power to the federal government authorizing any funding for local law enforcement. The 10th Amendment to the U.S. Bill of Rights reserves the power and authority for local law enforcement to the states and to the people. Therefore, the acceptance of these federal funds rests on an illegality and brings the county into complicity with that illegality. And while I thoroughly understand that this is nothing new, the simple fact that it has been going on for many years does not make it legal or valid in any way. Moreover, I believe that the accepting of this kind of grant from the Department of Justice or from any other entity or jurisdiction may constitute a threat to the integrity of our local law enforcement. The question arises, how many 170,000 grants to the Department of Justice does it take before our police department is no longer our police department? At what point might our police become their police? So question 2 is designed to determine if the bill violates the Constitution of Maryland. Well, the Maryland Constitution, Declaration of Rights, Article 2, reflects the supremacy clause of the U.S. Constitution. And Article 3 of the Maryland Declaration of Rights reiterates the 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution, as the supreme law of the land, prohibits the federal government from taxing and spending in this area, as we previously pointed out. So question 3 is designed to determine if the bill violates the Anne Arundel County Charter. Well, Section 305 of the Charter states, quote, "In the exercise of all its powers, the county council shall be subject to the express limitations imposed by this charter and by all applicable provisions of the Constitution and the laws of this state," unquote. So, accepting this grant money would violate Section 305 of the county charter since it runs afoul of the Maryland Constitution, Declaration of Rights, Article 2. And furthermore, it also violates Article 3 of the Declaration of Rights, which does not permit the grant money to be obtained by the county government. Now, this may seem strange to say, but the fact that the federal government violates the federal Constitution does not allow the county government to do the same. So question 4 asks whether the proposed legislation is in accordance with biblical standards for law and government. Well, now each councilman takes an oath before Almighty God to obey the Constitution of the United States as well as the Constitution of the state of Maryland. And it would be a violation of that oath to support this resolution, and the penalty spoken of in Ecclesiastes 5, verse 4 would come into play. And that says, when you make a vow to God, do not delay to pay it. Do not allow your mouth to cause your flesh to sin. So question 5 asks if the legislation negatively impacts citizens' rights. Well, Article 4 of the Declaration of Rights states as follows, quote, "The people of this state have the sole and exclusive right of regulating the internal government and police thereof as a free, sovereign, and independent state," unquote. So the right of self-government for each Anne Arundel County resident is thereby negatively affected by the acceptance of this grant. And also the personal liberty of the citizens is diminished as well. So question 6 asks whether the timeframes were adequate for appropriate review and consideration of the legislation, and I don't really see a problem here. Question 7 asks whether the terms used in the legislation are clearly defined, and again, I don't see a problem here either. Question 8 concerns personnel appointments and does not apply here. Question 9 asks whether funds are being generated by the legislation. Well, funds aren't really being generated in the usual sense here, but they are being accepted from the Department of Justice. Locally, we tend to see this $170,000 as, quote, free money, unquote, but it's really foolish, I believe, to think so. Not only are there strings attached, but any money that comes from the federal government will be taken from us at some point. Remember, the federal government is at least $17 trillion in debt. They don't have any money that they don't take from us in the first place. So question 10 asks whether the legislation calls for spending, and if so, whether that spending satisfies a cost-benefit analysis. Well, as for a cost-benefit analysis, I really can't provide one from a financial standpoint. However, whenever the county accepts a grant, there are always strings attached. As they say, there is no such thing as a free lunch. So to summarize, the funding for this grant is not in accordance with the U.S. and the Maryland Constitutions, nor the county charter as I read it. I voted against this resolution, as did Councilman Grasso from District 2, but the resolution still passed 5-2. Well, I hope this review of my analysis of Resolution 2715 has been helpful to you, and I thank you.